everybody. Very happy to welcome Mel Sherratt for tonight's author chat, and she's going to start us off with a just introduction to herself and her book.
Hi there. Gosh, I tend to get mixed up with how many books I've got now. I'll go through them like, when your mum and dad say, oh, your mum, that child, and that child's name before you get to them. I've written 17 crime novels and I've written 5 books as Marcy Steele. I've been publishing for 10 years now. Actually, it was my 10-year anniversary this week, which still astounds me and still shocks me that I managed to get it off the ground, because I was rejected for 12 years by publishers. So, and in a nutshell, that's my journey there.
So which book is your most recent one out? Show us the covers.
This is my most recent one, and it's The Life She Wants. And it's basically about a couple who've just lost a child. They're living in London, lost a 5-year-old child with meningitis, and they want to have a new start. So they come into a village in Staffordshire Moorlands, and then they finally got the neighbours from hell next door. And I can't tell you any more than that, because I starting to talk about the twists, so I'm going to put it down for a minute.
So for me, whenever I read your books, apart from the fact that I feel like I'm going home, we're all sat in Stoke, the location feels so important in yours. It's like very strong and almost like another character.
Do you know what? That's a really nice thing to say, because when I very first started writing, being a working class author and not having an education, I've never been to university, I've only been to high school educated, and I always thought my writing was never good enough. I don't have any big words in there. And I chose Stoke because I know Stoke, and also I'm not very good at description. So I thought, because I walk the streets I'm talking about, then maybe that will come across in my writing anyway. And it seems that I'm a visual writer. People tend to think, well, I can imagine more of it rather than you having to tell me about it. So it worked out quite well, really, considering I just didn't think I had it in me. All these, I read some lovely passages about description, and I'm thinking, I can't do it. If I have to put a description in, I have to go back and fill it in, and it's like doing a really bad exam, because I think, what words can I use now for this bit? So thank you. That's a really good compliment.
What's special about Stoke as a location then, other than that you know it really well? Why else did you choose to do it?
It's a really gritty place, and we might not be one of the better cities, but we aren't as glamorous as other cities, but we're a city with a heart, and we've got real good people here. And I just love the fact that we're all so friendly. You can talk to anybody in Stoke and you can always get a conversation back. It's wonderful just going anywhere. If we trip up somewhere, we'll talk to the person next to us as we're walking past. And I just love the dynamics about it. The city itself has just got so much to offer, and the history of it, but the potteries and everything. I'm tending to write now, at the moment, I'm starting to pick up different areas, which I'm then going to put some more of the potteries into them particular places, because obviously we're split into 6 towns, if anybody doesn't know. So I'm going to start putting a few in. At the moment, my books have mainly been in the places that I've known. So I'm going to start branching out a little bit, I think, more into Stoke and talking about the creative side of things within the books, hopefully.
I'm trying to see who's commenting to say hello. Donna has, because she comes up with her name, so she says hi both.
Hello, Donna.
I'm just looking. So if I look like I'm looking down, I'm just checking on my phone. Andrew has said hello as well. He lives in Nottingham, so
a city very much like Stoke, really, isn't it? Nottingham.
And he's a big fan of books on audio. Are all yours on audio?
Some of them are, some of them aren't. I've just had some of them the rights traded back to me, which is the ones that I've just republished, and there's 4 of them that aren't on audio, so they'll probably be coming into audio sometime next year. I can't guarantee when they're going to be, but majority of them, I would say 70% of them are now. It's just a few that have had the rights taken back. So once you have the rights taken back, they take off their audio version and they leave you without it. So yeah, I would say 70% of them are.
How do you find getting an audio voice actor for?
It's been quite hard, actually. I tend to get people who are by gum and right up north, or people who try to put on a Stoke accent and end up sounding like Manchester. So I probably better do my own books, to be honest, because the Stoke accent is just so. I suppose everybody's accent is unique to a point, but I think people found it very hard to do. I don't genuinely don't know why, but yeah, a few of them have been. I have a lady called Colleen Prendergast who does most of my books. She does the estate series, and I had her to do, because she did the estate series. I asked HarperCollins if she could come and do the Grace Allendale books. So I think there's 7 books all done by the same voice, and even she talks a bit like a Manchester accent, but she's got the better accent. She's Manda Suhalla's audio. I don't know what the word is. Audio recorder, voice narrator, aren't they? A narrator. So I thought I'd pick Amanda Sue's, because obviously she's Manchester. So I had one that was done from America, which was the first version of Watching Over You, and she was a lovely lady, but she couldn't do the accent. It really got slated because of that, which is a bit of a shame. But I've never read my own audiobooks. I don't read audiobooks anyway, and I've listened to one chapter and I just found it so cringeworthy. I don't do that. So, but yeah, it's a big industry now. Audiobooks is.
Yeah, we've got a lot of members who prefer to read on audio.
Yeah, it's a bit like Kindle and the paperback, isn't it? I prefer the Kindle because I can make the type bigger, to be honest, and I can hold it better. But I still like a paperback every now and then, especially when I'm on holiday. But audio, I can't do that. I'm just probably more of a visual person, I think. Then, yeah.
I think I'm a bit old-fashioned. I'm a paperback kind of. I've got a Kindle, but
Yeah.
paperbacks. Way of the future. Or the way of the past, and I'm just old-fashioned.
Yeah.
So Laura Hamilton's watching as well. She likes to ask a question of, have you ever acted out a scene from one of your books?
Have I ever what? Sorry.
Have you ever acted out a scene as you've written it?
Lots of. I probably can't remember one off the top of my head, but I'm always doing this and like, how do I say this, or how do I say like she pinched her nose or she pinched her, something like that. Do you know what? I probably can't remember off the top of my head, but I've definitely gone out and done some things and tried to figure out. I've walked a few places as well to make sure I've got the timings right. And especially through Stoke, and actually it's quite good to do things like that, because then you realise that something's actually missing from what you, or something's appeared that you can talk about. I go around and take lots of photographs of things, but actually scenes, I probably have, but I can't remember at the moment. I've probably done a couple, but nothing that I could talk about unless I remember as I'm talking. I know one of my friends, Jane Isaac, got in the boot of a car to see if she could fit in the boot of the car. So there you go. See if it was possible. Yeah, and somebody, I think her husband shut the lid on that was it then, and she just got it straight out again. But I'm not quite sure I'm that brave.
Don't you have a catch on the inside now so you can get out if you're trapped in them? Or is that just something made up?
Yeah, possibly, but not in my books. You wouldn't be able to get out. You wouldn't be able to make a story then, would you? So, yeah.
You ever tempted to do like photo books or photo tours of like the locations that you've used?
Yeah, I think I'm going to start doing that next year. I'm going to do some more promotion and marketing myself next year. So I think I'm going to either pick a location or just go and have a coffee somewhere and just talk about that location and put it on my website, because I think I find it fascinating when other people do it, and I go in and look at there's like JD Kirk. I know he's done a big map, and you can go and see lots of picture places where he's put his books. And I think I'm going to start doing that next year, because I think people will find it interesting, even though I think they might not. I love reading other people's, but won't do it myself. So I'm definitely going to start to put in some places. I mean, we've just had a big museum built for the Spitfire airplane, which the creator was from Stoke, and we've just had a new Spitfire bought in. I think I'm going to talk about that in the next couple of months, because that airplane was opposite the library that I used when I was 10 years old, and I used to go to the library every Saturday morning and get all the writing books out, and because I've always wanted to be a writer since I was a dot, and it was in like well, I remember it was like a big greenhouse. There's Spitfire right opposite there, and it went away because the greenhouse, I think, I don't know whether the greenhouse eroded or whatnot. And it's cost them millions to actually bring it back, and they've just built a new part across the road from where it was before, and they've got a new cafe called Violet's Cafe. So I'm going to go in there and have a cup of coffee in there and talk about Spitfire, because I think that's interesting, its history as well, but also the fact that I can relate it to myself as a 10-year-old child, when I used to go in there nearly every Saturday morning, just look at this massive plane, because I would have only been little. It was really good. So yeah, I think I'll start doing that next year.
I used to go to see the Spitfire quite a lot when we lived.
There you go, yeah. It's fascinating.
You don't think it's got smaller. So my husband's got this thing, there's this museum where he's from, and it's got a whole skeleton of a whale, and he swears it's got smaller.
I think sometimes, I know I went back to my junior school, and I thought that was really, really small compared to, I think it's because you were smaller. I think I remember the Spitfire, I was 10 when I first saw it, probably same as yourself, but it was just such a big thing that I think when I go and see it again, I think it looks smaller. I haven't been to see it yet. I'm definitely going next year. I haven't been up to town for quite a while, obviously, with restrictions and things, but because I used to go into the museum used to meet my friend every month in the museum cafe there, and obviously we haven't been going anywhere, so I haven't felt the need to go up and have a look at the Spitfire yet, but I will do. Let's see, yeah.
Andrew wants to know, he says he's just bought Follow the Leader on Kindle. He read the sample and thought it was great.
Fantastic. Do you know, I have to say that's my favourite book out of all my books. It was a real challenge to write, and it was after watching the film Seven. I just loved how dark that film was and how he was following the serial killer along. So that's basically why it was called Follow the Leader, because in Follow the Leader you will know who the serial killer is, but you'll never know who he is. Basically, you'll know his name, but you'll work out the clues through the book, as everybody else does. And I used to be a big fan, still am actually, of Criminal Minds, where they tell you who the killer is first, and then they show you what they're doing. So Follow the Leader was one of my favourite books, and I shall probably write another one very similar with a serial killer. It's got 7 bodies, 6 or 7 killings in there. It was very hard to tie up as you were going through, because he was murdering someone. I'm not telling you anything different, but he was murdering somebody so quickly that no evidence was coming in, and it was all purposely done like that. So it was, I could have this big crescendo at the end. But yeah, I enjoyed that. So thank you. I hope you'll enjoy the rest, Andrew.
Yeah. Well, he says your descriptions are fantastic and wants to know if there's any chance of seeing an adaptation of it on TV.
Oh God, yeah, I would love to see it on TV one day. I'm in talks at the moment. I'm going to see somebody next month about actually putting a play on of one of my books in Stoke. So we're going to decide which play that we're going to do. But I mean, that whether or not any of the books will be able to be, she's going to look at them first and work with her. She's from Stoke, which is really, really exciting. And yeah, I would love to see something on TV. I've got Rachel Shenton as one of our actresses from Stoke. She's been in All Creatures Great and Small lately, and I've mentioned to her several times, you are definitely a cop, and she says, "Oh, I'd love to be a cop, rushing around Stoke." So yeah, I think it's every writer's dream to have a book on the screen. But I just love it. I would, yeah, definitely.
Do you think it's a thing like going back to the locations? Do you think locations, especially with TV adaptations, are important? I'm wondering if like Stoke sort of not a location that lots of people know about.
Yeah, I think that's the problem as well. I think when I was going through the rounds with the publishers, the traditional publishers, with the Taunting the Dead, they liked some of them thought the writing was too gritty. Some of them thought it was great, but they didn't want it set in Stoke. They wanted it set in London or Glasgow or and obviously not Dublin, but like a big city like that, because people would know it and people would relate to it. And I think people like Angela Marsden's now, she's put the black market, the black country. Sorry, Angela, the black country on the market, on the map. It's probably done us a lot of favours, because now I've got quite a few books set in Stoke now, and people are enjoying them books set in Stoke. And I think people are looking for different things as well. As I do get people who will say to me, "I don't want another book set in London." I particularly like them set in London because I go to London quite often before the pandemic. But I also like reading all sorts of detective series because of where they're set and the different areas. And I like, because like very much like you said about me, I find that their area is a character, and you get to know that area and the feel of it, the sense of it, and the people and the atmosphere. So I quite like that.
It's quite nice to go and visit somewhere
Mm.
that you've been reading about books being set as well, and explore the.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, like you say, with one thing about the photographs and the maps, I probably miss out on that. Really, I probably should do that, but I don't know. I see, probably a funny thing to say, but I've been a writer for 10 years, and I still can't believe that people read so many of my books. So maybe that's why I haven't done it. And I was on the radio the other day about the anthology that we've done with Louise Ross, The Everyday Kindness. And she said to me, she says, "How many books have you sold?" I said, "Well, I've sold close to 2 million. She says, "You sound like you're embarrassed." I said, "I'm not embarrassed, Liz. I'm just like flabbergasted. I just, I can't thank everybody enough for all the chances that they took on somebody who nobody knew at the time, couldn't get a publishing deal, and yet everybody liked the books, which really, really started me off." So yeah, I do sit here and like in shock sometimes to think how far I've come, and I don't think it'll ever sink in. I think it's great.
You've done quite well though, sort of starting with that kind of
Nothing.
well, not nothing, but starting writing books sort of in a place that's not as well known. Like you said, you've come from a different sort of way into it,
Yeah, working class background as well.
and yet you've become so well known and sold so many books. What do you think the secret is to your success?
Do you know what? I don't know whether it's I talk about social issues, and I can get under people's skin with the social issues, and I also like to make people feel as sorry for the suspect and the victim. So I want you to, even though somebody's going out and killing people, I want you to know why, and I want you to feel sorry for that person, or hate that person, or really just get some anger and emotion in there. And then and then on the next page, I want to try and make you cry. So I think it's that genuine. Maybe it is my Stoke roots that we are so open and honest that people like that, and that comes through in my books quite easily because I am Stokey anyway. So
Someone said here, so I can't see who said it. Oh, it's Laura Hamilton. She said she's read a lot of books on the pigeonhole. I don't know what the pigeonhole is. And some of the authors add extra content, such as photos of places linked to the story, music playlists, and they really add to the atmosphere.
Yeah, I think I'm going to definitely do that now. I know I've had a couple of my paperbacks in Asda, and we've put questions and things in the back of there. I think because I've been focused so much on books lately, I need to focus more on my reader again now. And in the new year, I'm going to be starting my own little Facebook group that then people can come in and chat with me about my books, and I'm going to start doing exactly what she says, because I do think I love it. So I'm going to start putting stuff down like that. I do know what pigeonhole is. Well, I think I know, but it's with the publishers. I think they do serialization, and they read along with the reader. So that obviously the extra bits are a bit like the deleted scenes, aren't they? Really, that we do, that we see on films. So yes, it's definitely on my tick list to do next year.
This might also be Laura has asked, how do you decide with a story if you think it'll be a standalone or which of your detectives will have it?
I've always got whoever it is in mind when I very first start the book. So I've had a few ideas for standalones. I've done 4 standalones. I'm not sure if I'll do any more. I'll be honest with you. I haven't really enjoyed them as much as the police procedurals. I find the police procedurals, it's like Ali Shenton, or it's like the Grace. You're going back to a little family every time you go back to the same characters, and that's the bit I like. And you can put a merge on it, and you've got basically the story there. Anyway, the standalones for me personally have been quite hard to write because there's not as many characters in there, and I have to get into the minds, and I just won't kill somebody before the end of the book, and sometimes it's not that. So, ideas wise, I just pick an idea first, I think, and then I'll decide whether. So probably that is the answer to the question. I will decide who does what with it. It's just whatever theme comes up first in my mind, and then I'll just go off and just write some words down and see where it goes. But I'm picking an idea. I've got so many ideas in a book, I can basically say, right, I need a Grace book or I need an Ali book. Which idea am I going to pick? Or I'm going to do a standalone. Which idea am I going to pick? Because I've probably got 60, 70 ideas. Some of them will never see the light of day. Some of them end up being in 3 or 4 in the same book. Some of them are just, I'll look at and think, you can't do that, that's ridiculous, or I have a real good idea. And I have a notebook that I will go through, sit down with a cup of coffee a couple of times every couple of months and just see what's in there, because there's some good nuggets in there all the time. Some ideas, like for instance, the idea for 10 Days, which is the book I wrote before The Life She Wants. I've had that idea in my head for about 7 years and never ever been able to figure out how to write it. And obviously the timing just came and I just thought I'm going to sit down and do it then.
Do you ever have family and friends like ring you up or send you a letter and go like, I've come up with this brilliant way of killing someone, or have you seen this? Like, send you a picture of a location?
No, I've had loads of normal people rather than family and friends that have said to me, I've got a great idea for this, but never ever to send me anything or done anything like that. They have their own ideas, or they'll say that, you know, the normal, you write it, you know, and give me 50% of your profits type of thing. I'll give you the idea and you write it. So, yeah, that's great. But no, I don't. No.
How do you find doing the police procedure research?
Go on, sorry.
Do you have a policeman that you use as advisor?
Yeah, I have an ex-chief constable, Jane. She's if I need to go for any big Stoke ideas, then I will go to her first. But Caroline Mitchell, another author, she's the one who tends to go. She'll always read my manuscripts anyway. I read hers and she reads mine. So she'll go through and she'll just and say, well, this just needs a bit more authenticity, or you can't do this, or I'll email her and say, is this possible, or how to get around it. But what I basically do with my police procedures is I write the story first, I write the murders in first, and then I fill the police procedural in after, because I don't know, I'm not a cop, so I don't know exactly how it goes, but I need these murders to happen. And a lot of the time, for instance, if there's CCTV that I don't want it to be anything to see, I need to then either work a way out to get back to how either there is no CCTV there. So instead of putting her on this street, I put her on a lonely, you know, him or her on a different street where there's no CCTV, or I change the plot to make sure that the CCTV will be seen will be at the right time for when I need it. So basically, if I'm doing, for instance, like I was writing for The Leader, I wrote the 6 or 7 murders first, and then I went back and filled all the police bits in. And I have to sit there. I've got a notepad where have I mentioned this? Have I mentioned this? Just little keywords that I'll mention in the team briefings that they do. But research-wise, I do it after I've finished the book, because I know sometimes there's so much fascinating police procedural stuff is. It's really, really interesting to go and have a look at. So I know that I would probably end up doing too much research, and if I chuck something out, it's a waste of time. And B, I will go down a rabbit hole and quite happily just sit there and read the police procedure and do the writing.
Sorry.
Stay steady. I'll have a drink while you're there.
Andrew says, how long does it take you to write a book? By that he means from first draft to proofreading by your editor and finally getting it to say Waterstones.
Depends how I'm publishing. If I'm publishing with traditional publisher, Avon could take between, from me starting, sometimes can take 12 to 18 months to get that first book out there, which was way too long. But that's their system, the way they work. If I was working with Bookshops, which is a digital publisher, I've done one in 3 months with them, which was too quick, and I would do an average of about 4 or 5 months. If I was writing one for myself, it would probably be about 4 months. But they're all different procedures, and it's basically because of fitting in with a publisher's timing more than anything. I tend to write a book. The way I write a book is I write a quick, what I call a dirty draft within a month, and I write 50,000 words. And then I go back and polish that on a second draft and make it up to 65,000 words. And then I do a final draft then, which is all the adding the description and the bits that I don't particularly like, and polishing it, and that'll make it to 80,000 words. That normally takes me, if I had to sit down and do that day after day after day after day without no break of any other work, somebody else, the previous books proofs are coming back in as you're doing that. If I had to sit down, it'd probably take me about 3 months to do it all, but because you've got different jobs to do in between.
So do you keep do you have more than one project on the go at a time?
Yeah, normally I've got probably 3. I've probably got the one that's come out now, the one that I've been working on, why that one's been coming out, and I'm then working on the next one in the future. So as I'm working on one, so there's one out now, I'm working on one, and then there's always one that's coming in. So for instance, if I'm writing the first draft, I'll try and get the first draft down in that 4 weeks, because I know then I'll have blocked some time out, 3 weeks, to do a line edit on the one that went before. And then I'll go back to the one I'm working on and do a bit more, and then wait for the proofs come in, the copy edits, the line edits. So it is good. It's project management. It's quite hard at times, but I always basically whatever work I'm contracted with a publisher takes preference. And then my own, if I'm self-publishing, I don't put dates out until I'm pretty certain I can publish the book. So I can always push it back if I haven't got time to do it, because for instance, like something has come up with the book and I need to just do another couple of days editing on it before it's right. I step away from my own work, and then that's always put theirs first.
So you write as Marcy Steele as well. Tell us a little bit about that.
Do you know what? I love writing as Marcy Steele, but I just haven't got the time for it. I started writing women's fiction way before I did crime, and I always wanted to do fiction, and I always thought I would. And I had my first agent back in 2008, and I worked with her for 3 years on one book, which is called Stirred with Love, which has actually been published now. And we did 8 different drafts on it, and it was just absolutely nightmare. I didn't really know much about writing then, so I didn't really know that I would have to wait 4 months before she would send me something back. I was thinking, but I've got an agent, this is okay, I've got an agent. And after I think I was with her for 3 years, she retired and she just left me, and that was it. I was just sort of on my own. I'm thinking, never even got the book out to a publisher. It was never at the stage where it was out with a publisher, and my confidence just dropped, and I just thought, she doesn't like me. She hasn't retired. She just doesn't like me. She wants to finish. She did actually retire. I did find out after. And I never wrote for another year, because I just thought, I can't do it. I'm not good enough. And then I just picked it up again. And I wrote the book myself in full. But at the time, I was an officer, and Shameless had come onto the TV. So I started writing a book, which basically was a bit hard hitting, about domestic violence and these women getting through the domestic violence with the help of each other. And I really enjoyed doing that. I got another agent with that, and then that went out to publishers, and it was Inbetween crime, and it was Inbetween women's fiction, and they didn't know what to do with it, so they just said no, they didn't want it. So my agent then at the time then said bye to police procedural. So that's how I went from Marcy Steele, of my original writing that I wanted to do, all the way back through to some hard-hitting crime, and she's Taunting the Dead is totally different. But she never left me, and when I couldn't get that traditional deal, I decided to self-publish as Marcy, put that book out under a pen name and see if I could do it, basically. And then if it didn't work, nobody would know. I could still carry on with Mel Sherratt to try and get a book deal that way. And so I edited that book myself, which had been massively edited anyway by someone who'd maybe do these 8 different drafts. And I put it out on Kindle, and it just took off. It was just incredible. It was really good timing. It just literally took off, gave me a huge boost of confidence. And I just thought, well, I can't get Taunting the Dead published, so I'm going to put that on Kindle as well. And then that took off. So that was the one that, obviously with it being in my own name, that was the one I took forward then. And then I published I had written 3 estate books that nobody wanted, so I then got them out quickly. Well, not quickly, but re-edited them and put those out. And then that's how Mel Sherratt came out. And then Marcy Steele sort of went to the side, because I can't do both. got the rights back to those, and I've republished them since. And I would love to do some more. I've got six book ideas for her, but I just haven't got the time to do both. So I will write a Christmas Marcy Steele one day, because I'm dying to write a Christmas book.
Love a Christmas book.
Me too. Yeah, I'm definitely. Well, Stubborn Love, my first Marty Steele one, goes up until Christmas and it finishes at Christmas, but there's nothing like a Christmas book.
Or a Christmas film. It's
Lovely.
one of the things I was doing while I was poorly at home, was watching lots of Christmas movies.
And as well, they come out, the same books can be read every year. So you literally, it's quite a good marketing tool when you think about it. If you wrote a Christmas book every year, you could still then, I've got a great backlist every year when they start reading the new one, which may be something I'll do with Marcy. I would love to write one.
So you got women's fiction and police procedurals. Are you ever tempted to write anything else?
I don't think, probably not. I think because I've done 4 different lots of crime, I think I've got psychological thrillers. I've got psychological thrillers, police procedurals. The estate series is a bit in between, and then I've got like Eden is a bit, Eden Beresford's series. They're a bit in between. So I think from the crime point of view, I've covered everything that I would want to do crime wise. And Marcy Steele, I think, because they're 2 different genres as well, I don't think I could cope with anything else. But no, I've never wanted that. That's enough for me now. And even that, I struggled to stop. I really, really want to do both.
You're not tempted to merge them? Like you said, you sort of initially had that idea that was a bit like Shameless inspired, where you had
Yeah,
in between.
yeah, I do think the in-between books are the estate series. I think because they are literally what I call laugh a minute, cry a minute, crime a minute. They're basically a bit like, whereas my Eden, I've got DS Eden Beresford, there's 2 of those. They're very much like, they were based on Happy Valley, because I absolutely loved Happy Valley. So they're based on the hard-hitting stuff. But I always like writing about communities. So the estate series was very much about a community of women, and it was very much women's fiction. When I go back and read them now, they make me laugh, they make me teary, and that's what I wanted. And they're a lot less hard hitting. Apart from there's a few little bits in there where some of the women have to get out of difficult situations, but they are definitely the women's fiction, and that was the reason why I wrote the 2 Hope Street books that I've done with Marcy Steele, which I did last year. They are the equivalent of the estate series set on a normal, nice street. So I wanted to do something very similar when I was thinking of, there was a time, I'll be honest with you, last year in the lockdown, there was a time where I didn't know whether I was going to be able to write crime anymore, because it was such a scary, dark time. I wasn't enjoying it. And I wrote Coming Home to Hope Street last in May last year, because I couldn't write crime, and I just went into this happy little world of Marcy and wrote on Coming Home to Hope Street, and I really enjoyed it. And that to me is the equivalent of the estate series, but just with nicer characters. It's set in one little place.
So apart from Happy Valley, we've got the people who consulted on that in the group. They're great.
Yeah, I love it. I absolutely love it. Catherine Kaywood. She just kicked ass, and I loved it. I loved her for it. But I like the emotion in the film as well, and I like the fact that there was a lot of gritty, violent moments in there where you sat on the edge of your seat and you didn't want to watch, but you was like car crash, what we call it, isn't it, car crash viewing. I didn't want to watch it, but I absolutely loved it, and it's because you want that character to survive and get out of it, and that's what I do in my books. But yeah, with Eden, my Eden, I mean, I might eventually write some more Eden books, because she was a great character. She was a mod. She went round on a scooter and she got a mini, and she just wore like little 60s clothes, little pixie hair, a little bit like what's her name? Who does shout? Lulu. That's the image I've got in my mind of it. And she was, but very much like Catherine Kaywood, she would just go in and just like, yeah, you better behave yourself, lad, or else next week you'll be in there. And I love that. But I just love the influence of it, I must admit. I did love that programme, and I cannot wait for the next one to come on.
What other crime shows do you like then?
I watch anything that now this is going to make you laugh, but I can't watch violence. I cannot watch violent things. I just literally have to go, do you know that sound? I have to say that sound when somebody punches like that. I cannot abide that. And I'm just literally like, turn the sound down, like, what's wrong with you? You write all this stuff. And I said, well, I must detach myself from it. So I'm more like, I quite like Vera. I love Line of Duty. I absolutely love, because that's the characters that you're coming back for on that every time. Endeavour I quite like. And Midsummer Murders I will sit and watch when there's nothing else to watch. But I do like all the 24 hours in police custody. They are the things that I will sit there with a notepad and I will get lots of inspiration, lots of ideas. There's a forensics one that started that I watched this week as well. That I think it was on a while ago. And they were supposed to do 10 episodes and they've done 4 and they started coming back on again. They are fascinating, even as a layperson who wasn't writing books. They're just really fascinating. So and I've actually enjoyed Shetland lately. I haven't really, I've never watched that before, but I enjoyed the series of Shetland. So yeah, quite a few different ones there.
Yeah, you've got a character question from Andrew.
Mm-hmm.
He was wondering how old Anna is.
How old
Anna is.
I haven't got Annie. Someone's wondering how old Anna is.
I think it's from the sample of Follow the Leader. So I was wondering how old Anna is. As I read on,
it's Ali, yeah. So as I read on Nick appeared, I wondered how old Nick was, how long he'd been in the force, because I thought he had more experience. So can you elaborate? Okay, Nick's. I have to go back in time for these. Nick is the detective inspector. I think he's mid-50s in that, and he's been around the block a bit, because I remember his wife wants him to retire, and I think he retires in a couple of books later. He actually, what I did with the Grace series, the Grace Allendale series, is I put Ali Shenton into a different team for 4 books, and had the same team and brought Grace in. And now when I'm starting going back to Ali Shenton, I'm now taking Grace out and putting Ali back in. Nick was the detective inspector in the very first trilogy about Ali, and in half of Grace's books, and then Ali then. It's very hard, complicated, but then Ali then become the detective inspector in it, so she's taking his place. So he was mid-50s then, ready to retire, and Ali was 36, I think, to push when she went there, and she'd been detective sergeant for I think a couple of years. And so so she works in the bigger team. Very hard with a detective sergeant to do books sometimes, because the main character in your book, Ali, needs to solve the crime when really the bosses need to come in and tell her what to do. So I had to, but she's the one who has to have the little nugget of the idea that then starts the ball rolling at the end. So I'm looking forward to having her as a DI now, because it's a bit more, I can say, like, you do this, you do this, you do this, do this. So Nick's retired. So yeah, he was mid-50s and Ali was, I think she's 36, 37.
had Nick been a career cop in your book?
I think so. I think they all have, actually. I think Ali was supposed to have been. Ali was a social worker until her sister got attacked, and her sister was attacked and left for dead. And she was a social worker then, and then decided to join the police because of what had happened to her sister, and actually, being involved with the police. So she worked her way up to being a detective sergeant then. And Nick, I think, has probably done the same. I can't remember if I actually put in the book, but in my mind, he had definitely worked his way up through the ranks.
So one of Sam's favourite questions to ask is, what's the most recent scene that you wrote, without giving away a spoiler?
The most recent theme?
Scene.
Theme?
Scene.
Got it. The most recent scene. Okay, let's try and think. I'm writing the book that's coming out next year, and I've just been editing a scene where I have a young lad who's probably 26 with a mental age of about 16, who's in a flat, and he's been bullied by some young lads who are coming in and taking advantage of the flat and making a mess in there, making a nuisance of himself. And there's been a murder across the road, and Ali's noted that something, even though she's been talking to him about the murder across the road, that something isn't right about what's happening in that flat. So there you go. So that's going to be actually there's 3 Ali Shenton books planned. I'm planning for next year, and that's going to be a subplot in 1, 2, and 3. So there you go. That's what I've been doing today.
Laura wants to know, because she found the pandemic difficult, will your books be set in a COVID-free parallel universe?
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely. I don't want to write about it. I don't want to even think about it. And I think, I know people say, oh, but you should put it in because it's modern times. But out of respect for people who've lost people, I don't think I could. And I don't want to talk about it. I don't even want to think about it. I think in a few books' time, I might sort of mention the pandemic in a sentence because it's history, and I think it needs to be noted down. But actually, you couldn't write a book about a murder without, when people are in lockdown and not even supposed to be out, you just couldn't do it. So I made a decision, and I put a note in my book to say I'm not going to talk about the pandemic in my books yet. I would never write a book about lockdown. I think people are really brave, and that's their choice if they want to do it. But I certainly wouldn't want to do it tonight. I don't think I want to read it yet. But in time, I think a few years down the line, we'll probably go back and read those books, and then once we've got a bit of distance from it, we're still living through it now, aren't we? I don't know when it's ever going to end. So for me, I don't want to do it. I don't want to write about it. Don't want to talk about it. And I'm sorry, I know it's going to offend some people, but I would think the majority of people would respect my decision not to do it anyway. So it's tough enough living now.
It seems useful. I mean, I suppose even in the lockdowns, there were people out and about.
Yeah, but I don't know how you'd be able to commit to me. Well, I don't know, you might be able to commit to me because there's not that many people about, but you wouldn't be able to actually go out there and speak to everybody. And it must have been absolute. Do you know, when you think about it, it must have been an absolute nightmare for them. Just the cops just doing the jobs, even trying to do. But crime went down for a bit, didn't it? Because people weren't actually going out. So who knows? Who knows?
It's a bit wild, wasn't it? So, top reads of the year. What's been your top books?
Oh gosh. Okay, I'm on book 4 at the moment of J.D. Kirk. I will say it isn't a top book; it's a top series for me. Thoroughly enjoyed it. I'm very late to it. I don't tend to read a lot of Christmas series because I'm writing them all the time, and obviously don't want to take anything in. But that's something that I've really, really enjoyed. What I'm going to try and think of now. What I've enjoyed this year. I don't actually make a note of them, and I'll probably go. I did read a book of Millie Johnson's, and that was actually, I read that in summer because I was thinking of doing a Marcy Steele Christmas book, but didn't have time. So that was The Mother of All Christmases. So if you do want a Christmas book now, that was a brilliant book, because to me, I felt that was one of my estate books with a bit of grit in it. And I noticed that Millie Johnson writes that little bit of grit in that I like, so I like her books. I read Lisa Jewell's The Night She Disappeared. Really, really enjoyed that. So is that my top 3? Yeah, 3. Yeah. And then I'll probably remember, goodness knows how many down the line that I've talked about. But yeah, I don't think I ever have top books. There's going to be, I know there's one that I haven't thought of that I can't think of right at the moment, that I've thought this is my best book I've read in ages. Now I can't remember it. I've got a very terrible memory like that. I'll be honest with you. I have to, when I read books, if I read them 3 months later down the line, I can't tell you the ending of any book. To be honest with you, I just can't. It's really, unless it sticks in my mind. So
you must have authors though that are just your sort of top people. You just have any book.
Sorry, repeat that. Sorry.
I said you must have authors where you'll just get any book by them though.
Yeah, Lisa Jewell, definitely. Lisa Jewell's one of mine. I like Callie Taylor books as well. Callie Taylor books are really, really good. Millie Johnson, I've only just started reading, but now she's definitely my go-to. I love Caroline's books, and obviously I think we click together so well. She's a really good personal friend of mine, but we click together so well because our writing is so similar, and then the ideas and things. But yeah, I don't tend to have many as literally I wait for, because I'm always on Kindle and I'll see them there and I'll just buy them when they're there. So yeah, but definitely, Lisa Jewell, Callie Taylor, that type of book, and then the Millie Johnson, I love for the women's fiction.
Yeah, I like Millie Johnson.
Yeah, very, very much so.
Would you ever be tempted to write a book with Caroline Mitchell?
Do you know, tons of people ask us that, and I actually think it would be a really, really good book. But yeah, I think one day we may do it, but we always laugh and joke about it because it's one question she's always asked and one question I'm always asked, and I think, yeah, I think we would work well, and maybe both our detectives in one book as well, if we could get away with, if they don't belong to publishers type of thing. But yeah, definitely, I'd love to.
Brady Kirk's done that, hasn't he? I think had his detective crop up in other people's books.
Yeah, I think so. And David Gatwood's book, perhaps, and Jonathan Mayhew's, possibly. Yeah, might have even been in Alex Smith. I've read the first. What I've been doing lately. I've gone back to Ali Shenton books, as I've been reading first books and first series to see, to actually get myself back into the police procedural mind, but also to see why people read the second books. I've been doing a bit of research actually, so.
Yeah. Interesting. What other kind of research did you do then? Go back to revisit that series?
Well, I literally had to sit there and read all the three books, and then figure out whether I wanted to carry on as writing as Ali, and also the fact that she'd gone into the other series as well caused me a few problems to think, are people going to come back to that series? And she's obviously a different role now. So other than that, and actually sitting down again like I'm doing now, I've got book 4 all drafted out now. I am now going back and putting all the procedural bits in there. So, for instance, I've been having to learn some things about one of them. I can't tell you. I can't tell you that. It's too. If I have to tell you that, I have to shoot you. Yeah, I've been doing. I have been doing a bit of research on certain things in the book. So I am at that stage now where, as I get to a chapter and need the research, I will go and look for it. So yeah, without Ali, it's been quite nice actually getting back in with the team, and I've actually enjoyed writing this Ali Shenton book more than I thought I would. Thoroughly enjoyed it.
So you've got some offers on. Do you want to tell people about your offers that you've got?
Yeah, I've got 3 books on Kindle at the moment. They are on at 99 pence. Next couple of days, I think I've got a Kindle countdown, which is 7 days. I think I've got 2 days left of that. So basically what I've done, because I'm coming on here and because it's my 10-year anniversary this week, there is a trilogy of Ali Shenton books, which includes Taunting the Dead, Follow the Leader and Only the Brave, and it's normally £4.99, and that's on at 99 pence, so you can get 3 books for the price of one there. Watching Over You is on offer, and The Lies You Told is on offer. So there's them 3 books, but there's 5 books. They're all on offer for the next couple of days at 99 pence each in the UK and the US.
And we'll try and remember to drop a link in after as well.
Yeah, I can pass you one over. I just didn't want to. I know you're busy, so. Yeah.
Yeah, we definitely want to share that though, don't we? If people have been watching, they might want to. Can people buy signed copies of your books from you?
Not at the moment, but that's another thing they're looking at next year, because I think I need to set that up, because I am getting asked a lot of times. Obviously, when you're out when you're in a book signing, they can bring the books in if they've got any books, and they can get them signed. And I have been going around different places in the country. I'll have lots of people come up to me and how to get with books, for example. But unfortunately, none of us have been able to go out, have they? So yeah, it's on my list to do for next year. I'm going to update my website in the new year, probably over Christmas, and get the books on. It's a bit out of date on the front page, and I've obviously kept the bits at the back, talking about the books and things. But there's a lot more information I can put on that website for people, so that's definitely something I'm going to be thinking of in the future. In fact, I've just been I've been researching some of the boxes that can go through the letter boxes. I've just sent off 50 of those that I can just fold up and send a book out. So yeah, that will definitely be something I'll be doing in the future.
Lovely. Do you have any sort of author events, signings?
I've got one at our local library in February. They're actually putting it under taking you to the heart of the crime, which is my sort of tagline, and they're putting it around Valentine's Day, heart of the crime. It's been, I'll be honest with you, this talk that we've been doing has been on the cards since last July, and it keeps moving and moving and moving and moving. So whether or not we'll get there in February, fingers crossed, I hope so. I was last year in December 2020, and this year, December 2020 would have been 20 books in 2020 in December, on December the 10th. And I was going to have a party in Stoke and raise some money for charity and going to do some books that way. Obviously, that didn't happen. So I thought, well, perhaps I can do 21 books in 2021. And that didn't happen either. Last week, I couldn't really have the party I wanted. I wanted to have a big event where I could raise a bit of cash for local community as well, and get some people coming in and chatting with me at the same time. And that never happened either. So the next one at the moment is February, and I'll definitely be in Harrogate if COVID hasn't knocked that on off again. Then definitely want to go there this year. Unfortunately, other than that, I can't say where I'm going to be. It's just, I think, suck it and see at the moment, isn't it, for the way it goes again. I do miss them.
Do they still have the amazing bookshops in Stoke-on-Trent? So one of my favourites was Weatherly's.
No,
Exist.
it's gone. It's gone. All we've got is Waterstones. And I say all because Waterstones are great and they've been really, really supportive with me. But we haven't got any bookshops in Stoke. And Weatherly's was one of my favourite places. I used to go upstairs and it always used to smell lovely, didn't it? Always like a really, really old building. And yet I tried to get my books in there, and he didn't want to know. He was just like straight down the line, like really old-fashioned. No, don't want your books. And it was like, okay. And then he retired, and then the shop just closed anyway, which is a real shame because it was a lovely building. Yeah. So now there's Waterstones, which is right next to the lovely Weatherspoons, where they all hang out outside, which is nice when you're doing the signing inside and the police are called outside. Which is what happened to me. 11 o'clock in the morning, the police were called outside because they're all fighting next door in the pub.
11 o'clock in the morning, that's good going, isn't it?
It makes it authentic for my books.
It really does. So, some of the group favourite questions now. What are your most memorable moments as an author?
Oh, I have got probably two or three now. But my favourite one I talk about was the very first one is when I pressed that button on the 8th of December on Kindle, because I had no idea what was going to happen over the next 10 years and hopefully beyond. It was just incredible. But one of my best moments was I managed to, I was invited to talk on a panel for Kindle Direct Publishing, and it was at Althorpe House, and it was on a panel there about self-publishing in their Althorpe Literary Festival. And that's where, I don't know if you know, the Earl Spencer, Diana's buried there in the lake, Lady Diana. And we went down and we did the talk, and we did the talk in the most wonderful room with all these pictures on the wall. The chairs were like thrones. It was just a wonderful place to be. And afterwards, Lady, what was she name? Lady Spencer came up to us and asked us if we were staying over, and we just literally gone to a hotel around the corner, put suitcases down and gone to Althorpe. And she said, would you like to stay over, and would you like to have dinner with us tonight? And we were like gobsmacked. I went into so we all came back, and we trooped in with the cars. We got to the back of the building. We were given our own butlers. We went upstairs into these rooms that I've just out of this world. And Lady Diana used to live here. We were just flabbergasted. And we came out, we went down to dinner, and I'm just trying to lock the door and thinking, oh gosh, there's no lock on the door, is it? It's somebody's bedroom that we're trying to get out of. So we go down this grand entrance into this big library, and we had lunch. We had a dinner on this table of about 50 different people there. There was just people, it was just absolutely amazing. We had a tour around the house, but the next morning we got up and we had breakfast. And Earl Spencer and his wife and children were there, and there was quite a few other people there. But what they said is go and have a walk, and we ended up, which is one of the nicest things I've ever done, we ended up being able to walk around the lake where Diana was buried in the middle of it. And it was just such an eerie moment, such a wonderful moment for us. And that was all basically just because we'd done a panel, and we were literally in the right place at the right time. It was really amazing. Another thing is meeting my idol at the time, Ian Rankin. It was just my very first panel was 2011, sorry, my very first Harrogate was 2011, and I wasn't published. And he wasn't there, and I just was starting to talk to him on Twitter and just said, oh, it'd be great if I could meet you one day. So I'm at Harrogate next year. And that was when Taunting the Dead had come out, and he'd sent me a message when he to say on Twitter, for a direct message, to say, I'm reading Taunting the Dead. And I'm like, oh man, and I dropped off the chair, and it was like, oh, what, me and Mankind's reading my book. And he actually sent me a message back, and he said, it's really good. He says, you know, you need to carry on and do some more books. And when I met him there at the time, Taunting the Dead was quite rude. I've actually edited some of it out now. And he met me. It's one of them things when you go somewhere now, because I was on social media and people know who you are. And it was like, and he went, oh, hello, Mel. And I'm like, oh my gosh, he knows who I am. He says, I did love your book. He says, it was very, very rude. And it was like, he says, you write erotic thrillers, you know. And I was like, beetroots, absolutely. This day, you know, I've never ever been able to hold a conversation with him without going tongue-tied or anything. And he laughs his head off at me now. It's just like, but now I know him quite well. So when you think about like 10 years ago, I didn't know anybody in publishing. It's just been a remarkable journey. It's just, you know, all thanks to the readers, to be honest. Without them, you just don't get anywhere. And it was just amazing.
I think it is like for the readers. I think it's also a little bit down to the quality of the writing and how much you put out there as well, isn't it? You know, you can.
Yeah, it is. I'm quite personable on Facebook and social media as well. I like, you know, I put a newsletter out last week to say that this is my 10 years and whatnot, and give away a few prizes and things. And I just said to people, hit reply if you want to say anything to me. And I now got about 40, 50 emails I need to reply to. But I will reply to every single one, because I think it's important, because somebody's taken the time to say just 2 lines to me, and I can just sit there for a couple of hours and get that done. So I aim to do some tomorrow, some on Sunday, and then hopefully they'll be done like that by then. And it is nice, that bit of like that personal touch that you can get, and to think that your words actually affect people. It is unreal sometimes. It just sort of like surprise you. It's good. It's a great feeling. Apart from when you get the 1-star reviews, that's not too good.
I think social media and just generally, like, is one of the nicest things about being really into sort of books and stuff like that. The first time I think I was like friends with an author on Facebook, or you know, met them for a drink or something. It feels really special.
It does to me. It still does to me. There's a few. I've not met Lisa Jewell yet. Every time she's on a panel, I'm not on a panel, or vice versa. Or she's on the day before, and I've never yet met. And we keep saying Millie Johnson on the same. I've not met Millie, and they are the 2 people that I would like. I would be really like. If I met those 2, definitely. So that's 2 things on my bucket list I still haven't done yet.
There you go, a few more. I'll try and make them happen. I have seen Millie Johnson and got a book signed by her, but I think I'm just in the right location in Yorkshire.
You might have to meet in Manchester one day, I'm sure.
Yeah. Or do a signing up here in Leeds.
Yeah. I'm all for that.
Yeah.
Just be nice when we can travel freely again, to not have to worry about anything.
It would, because there's a signing in Stoke next year that's been organised.
Yeah.
It's very tempting for someone like me, because it's like, oh, I could go back, I could see my friends that still live there. You know, I could like going home for a bit.
Have an oat cake with us.
I could do, yeah. Have an oat cake. Go see the Spitfire.
Yeah. You could probably have an oat cake at the Spitfire Cafe now.
Probably, yeah. It would be like, yeah, like a homecoming.
Yeah.
And you're like, can I actually get there? And things.
Yeah.
It's always a problem, isn't it? We've got
Steady on.
Sorry. We've got 2 minutes left. Do you want to give everyone a reminder of yourself? Show off the book covers.
Okay, I'll tell you, that was my very, very first book. Look at that one for a cover. Just, oh my word. Oh, can't even get there. There you go. That was my very, very first attempt at cover. I think it was so different that people bought the book. But yeah, this is the one that's out at the moment, The Life She Wants. And like I said, if you want anything on Kindle, the trilogy is 99p for Ali Shenton, so she can catch up with the first 3 books before I bring the next one out, maybe at the end of February. I think the new one's coming out. And I've got a website, you can find me there, and I'm always on Twitter and Facebook if you want to have a look up on there.
Did you design that first cover?
Did I what, sorry?
Did you design that first cover?
I didn't. One of my friends designed it for me. I said to it because it's basically about a woman who's killed on a night out, and 6 of her friends are all lying to the police and lying to each other. And I said I wanted something that looked like a gravestone with blood with a rose on it. And I can't actually go out and look at somebody's gravestone and tip a rose on the top and take a photograph of it. So can you make me something that looks like that? And I don't know whether it got people's attention or whether it was just because the Kindle had just come out, but literally people loved it at the time, but it wouldn't stand, it just wouldn't work now. It definitely wouldn't. It just looks very self-published, if I can get it in. It's very hard to get. It just looks. But I had 10 published before, because this book was with Thomas, was with me, and then got published by Thomas and Mercy, who have just had it back from. So it got taken down. So I had 10. I self-published 10 from the back end of Kindle that nobody else could ever buy. And I had them. So I've got 10.
So, quick fire round before we finish. Are you a member of the CWA?
Sorry?
Are you a member of the CWA?
I was, but I'm not now.
Fair enough. Someone has said that they've succumbed to the trilogy.
Fantastic. I hope you'll enjoy it.
That's excellent. And my dad says hi.
Oh, hi.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay. I've been talking for an hour, so you're probably going to be dry anyway. So
I know, I'm doing well. And I've been teaching all day as well. It was Laura Hamilton who succumbed to the trilogy.
Fantastic. I hope you enjoy it. I really do. I do love it, and I can't wait to get back to it. I'm really enjoying writing it at the moment.
When this is over, either you go and post the link into the group.
Okay, I can do that. I'll
say I approved it, or
yeah.
I'll go and do it.
Yeah, I can do that for you now.
Good. So let's get you a few more sales.
Lovely. Thanks. It's very nice talking to you.
And yeah, all that's left to say then is thanks.
Yeah, thank you too. Have a good evening.